I'm joined this afternoon by Paul Hannaford, who these days goes around schools teaching children the dangers of knife crime and drug addiction. This is because years ago he actually was a drug addict and was involved in gangs. Would you like to tell people more about what you do, Paul?
Yeah, I visit anywhere there's young people, really, or I get invited from the age of, I visit primary schools and I'll speak to kids as young as 7, and I go to prisons and speak to prisoners that are in their 50s and 60s. So it's quite diverse, really.
Right.
80% of my work is with children aged probably 10 to 16.
Okay.
And I go around sharing my life story, really, about this little boy that was growing up in East London that wanted to be a footballer or a firefighter, and ended up a fully fledged gang member and heroin and crack addict. And 23 years of my life were wasted, and I nearly lost it.
Right. Okay. So, thinking back then to your earliest days, what changed from the little boy that wanted to be a firefighter and a footballer?
My recognition, my earliest memories of being a little boy, probably 8, 9, 10, and I remember there was always half a dozen footballs in the back garden, and I just joined the football team, and all of a sudden I had this football kit, and then I was going to football practices, then I was winning trophies, and then I was in a league, and it was like, wow, this is pretty cool, I want to be a footballer. I also had a cousin who was in London Fire Brigade, and sometimes I go in his house and see him in his fire gear or pictures of him in his fire stuff, and I looked and I thought, wow, he looks pretty cool in his fire stuff. Plus I knew girls like firemen, so I thought, so I thought, I don't make it as a footballer, I'll be a firefighter. But my desire was football. Where was the turning point? The turning point for me was going from years 6 to 7. Which was primary to secondary.
Yep. Okay.
The old-fashioned term would have been 4th year junior to 1st year senior, but now it's changed over the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
I was excited and I liked school, and I got to, I went from this small school really with like probably 200 kids to a great big school with 1,200.
You're right.
So all of a sudden now I'm turning up to an environment where I've got 1,000 peers or more.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the lower year group, so I'm in this environment that is quite scary for a little boy that's 11, 12 going in. But you find your feet. And you work out who's who, and you knock about with a certain group of people, and and going through that first year, it was great, it was fantastic. Then I went into the next year up, and then I remember on the way home from school one day, I just happened to take the shortcut home, and there was many shortcuts home, and I take the particular shortcut, and there were some boys down the alleyway, and some I knew, some I didn't, some were a little bit older than me, and someone from my school, and one of them pulled out a packet of cigarettes. So I was just stood there talking as kids do. And the cigarette was getting passed around these boys, and this one that didn't know me really well passed me a cigarette. And I looked at him, I just laughed. I said, "You're joking? I don't smoke." My mum and dad were both smokers, and I never liked the smell of it. But I found myself over the next few weeks coming home from school and started hanging about with these boys. They're a little bit older than me, so it was that, wow, if I'm seeing with the older boys, I look cooler. And then eventually I took the cigarette one day, and I smoked it. And I remember my first drag of it. It tastes awful, but then a few weeks later now I'm getting older boys to buy cigarettes for me from the shop, and I think I look really cool with 10 cigarettes in my pocket. I look ridiculous smoking, but I'm only 12, but no one ever come and told me that,
Right.
That was for a year. I'm still playing football, life's still pretty cool, and then 1 year later, at the age of 13, going, beginning of year 9, I got into a boy passed me some weed. At first, alarm bells in my head rang. It was quite scary because I knew cannabis was a drug. I didn't know what sort of drug, but drug was drug to me, and it's just like this. It was like, well, this boy don't really care about me. He won't pass me drugs. But I put myself in that same situation with a cigarette.
Right.
So that peer pressure stuff.
Okay.
No one forced me. No. And then I took it and I smoked it, and but there was a problem. The problem was I liked it.
Right.
A lot.
Right.
I like the way it made me feel. 6 months later, I'm smoking every day.
What age are you at this point?
I'm coming up 13 and a half.
Wow. So that's very young to be a cannabis smoker regular.
Yeah, it is regular. By the age of 14, I was smoking every day. But in the space of a year, from me first started smoking cannabis to the age of 13 to 14, I got chucked out of 2 schools. I ended up in a PRU. A PRU is called a pupil referral unit, and what they are, they're small schools, and they're for children that get chucked out of mainstream schooling that mainstream schooling can't handle because of their behaviour. And when I turned up at this school, there must have been between 30 and 50 people there, 30 minimum on a regular basis, boys, girls, different races, colours, and a lot of them were just like me, cannabis smokers.
Right.
And you put me amongst these boys, and now my behaviour is brilliant.
Right.
Yeah, I met, you know, but eventually I got chucked out of that school. So now, but I got chucked out with 9 other boys.
Okay.
Over a period of a few months. So now I'm on the street. No school would take me. I'm 15.
Right.
The 9 boys that got chucked out of the Peru, we got together, we become a gang.
Right.
It was a mixture of black and white boys.
Okay.
We started carrying knives, and we started to use them.
Why did you feel the need to carry knives? Because you're on the street?
Because nothing to do because of the street. Because that's just what the gang leader did. And you know, I was a low-ranking gang member, so when you have a gang leader and he's got a knife in his pocket, you carry a knife. You know, it was, and then we all did. It was just something we did. Then it was the crime.
Right.
Because now I'm getting bored with cannabis. I've been smoking it 2 years. I'm 15. And it's taking me so much to get stoned. I still love it. I still smoke it morning and night. I'm spending quite a bit of money on it every day. But you've got memories. Now I'm taking things like cocaine, ecstasy, LSD. I'm drinking tons of alcohol morning, noon and night. So that costs money. I haven't got a job.
So when did all the other drugs start then?
The other drugs will come in, I suppose, at the age of about 15.
Okay, so at 15 now you're doing cocaine.
No problem. No problem.
Really?
And to be honest with you, I had enough money to buy it morning and night. But I didn't really like cocaine that much.
Where were you getting the money from to buy these drugs?
We were doing street robberies. We were
some muggings and things. Or?
I'll go up to the West End of London and rob tourists because we take their watches or their bum bags because you know they always had vast amounts of money on them.
Was this deceptively, or you were holding them up with knives? No,
it was deceptively most of the time. There has been times when knives were probably pulled out and people were threatened, or you know, but a lot of the time it was just theft from shops, going out to stock rooms, opening the back door, taking the stuff. It was any way, you know, if it wasn't bolted down, we'd take it.
Right.
So yeah, even though we was 15. We weren't probably like gangs today. We was quite an organised unit. You know, we had a leader. I was ranked number 5. I had 10 gang members.
Right.
I worked my way up slowly. Then what happened was when we got to the age of 18, a few gang members had come out, a few new ones had come in, but we're still a strong unit of about 8, 9 or 10. Yeah, that were there for each other. So we've been together now, you've got to remember, like coming up 18, we've been together 3 years. Mm-hmm. So we're really, really bonded group of young men that will help each other out. So if one's got trouble, there'll be 9 gang members behind him, or 8 gang members behind him that will go and help him out at a drop of an hat. Right. Yeah, and these, you know, we were quite violent young men. Now we're 18, we started doing credit card fraud.
How were you doing that? Were you stealing credit cards?
No, we will say technically not stealing them. We had someone that worked in the post office.
Oh, right. Yeah. They were opening envelopes, were they?
Opening envelopes, giving us the credit cards, not 1 or 2, sometimes up to 10 a day. Right. They worked in the sorting office. Mm-hmm. So now I'm getting people's credit cards before they're due to be posted through their door. They don't know I've got it. It wasn't like chip and pin today. It was just, you know, you sign for it. But the good thing it was, we also had dozens of people with businesses that were crooked. So we'd take the credit card to their business, whether it be a carpet warehouse, a tyre shop. They would swipe the card through their machine. They would get the authorisation code. They're guaranteed their money. All they do is give us cash. So technically, this is how it worked. You're the postman, right? The bent postman. You sell me the credit card. The credit card's got a £2,000 credit limit. I get that credit card. I go straight to my mate's carpet shop, big warehouse. I buy £1,000 worth of carpet. I don't take the carpet. He gives me 500 in cash. Right. Then I go to my mate's tyre shop and buy £1,000 worth of tyres, etc. He don't give me £1,000 worth of tyres. He gives me £500 cash. Right. So now I've got £1,000. Yeah. I've visited 2 shops. Yep. I've paid £100 for the card. I've earned £900 in an hour.
That's unbelievable, isn't it? I mean,
and I was earning £1,000 a day when I was 18. I had a solid gold Rolex on my wrist worth £10,000. I had a beautiful home. I had a personal driver. I was so lazy and always so drunk and stoned I could not learn or have the patience to sit and learn to drive. So I bought a car. Right. And one of my lower-ranking gang members, because over the years I went up to the joint gang leader. So now I'm 18, 19. I'm earning thousands of pounds a week. I live in a 3-bedroom house. I've got a personal driver that picks me up whenever I want. I pay him, and I thought for the rest of my life I was going to be a gang leader. I thought for the rest of my life I was going to get away with committing crime, and also thought, the main one, I thought for the rest of my life I was going to be able to take as many drugs and drink as much alcohol as I want without there being consequences. But I come unstuck. Right. So what happened? Well, first of all, before you come unstuck, it doesn't sound as if you had many run-ins with the law at this point, or did you? Oh, no, yeah. Oh, blimey. By the time I reached the age of 15, 16, I had 15 convictions. And what were the convictions for? Dishonesty, theft, right, burglary, possession of drugs, never sold them. But by the time I reached the age of 20, I've been to prison probably 7-8 times. Young offenders and man's prison, because obviously young offenders up to 18. Once I got over the age of 18, it was man's jail, things like Brixton, Weber Scrubs in London.
Well, they're not supposed to be very nice ones either, though.
Well, I visited many jails, and it's some are better than others. Some years ago, it was go to the toilet in a bucket.
Oh, really?
Actually, both both in a bucket. And then over the years, obviously, they started integrating toilets. But there was a time when I'd have to use a bucket in a cell when there's two of you. It's not nice, and it's a hot day. Yeah, it's called slop out. So anyway, I'm 20 years of age. I'm earning vast amounts of money.
These spells inside didn't stop you from. They didn't think you didn't think I don't want to come inside again. I don't want to be using a toilet. Bucket.
Prison didn't scare me.
Okay.
You lose your liberty for a little bit. You lie there. You look forward to coming out. You go back to what you know.
Right. Okay.
Who's going to employ me? I've got loads of convictions. I'm earning £1,000 a day credit card fraud. Do you think I'll go and dig holes or sit behind the counter for £200 a week? Of course not.
No, of course
I'm going to take that risk, aren't I?
You are.
I'm only a thief. I'm willing to go and commit crime and do a few months now and again.
So moving forward, then you said you came unstuck.
Yeah, badly. All of us, all 10 of us. Right. It come to the point where Monday to Friday was the pub night. We had a particular pub we drunk in East London, and it was our place, and there was lots of old villains in there, because that's what I aspired to be. You see, I see all these men, these multi-millionaires, and these villains, these faces all over East London, driving their Bentleys, and and I aspired to be like that. Obviously my mind was very narrow, and I couldn't see the error of my ways, but I was just fascinated with these villains. I was 20 years of age. I was drinking with them. I was halfway there. I had the house. I had the Rolex. I wanted the, that false respect, I suppose, that villains get. Anyway. Monday to Friday is pub night. Saturday night is we find a party.
Right.
And all 10 gang members would hook up through the week. We wouldn't always go out as 10 unless we had trouble. But, it'd always be 2 or 3-handed, 4-handed, 5-handed. Yeah. Anyway, I found a party, East London, got to the party. When I got to the party, I was pretty sober. I remember I went to put my coat in the bedroom, went into the bedroom, guy in there with a piece of metal tinfoil with a metal tube, like thin pen rolled up, wrapped in his mouth, and he was burning the piece of metal tinfoil with a lighter. And straight away I knew what it was. It's how you smoke heroin. And the guy looked at me, and I knew him just to say hello to now and again, and he looked and said, "Oh, you want to try some of this?" and held it out to me. And I looked at him and I said, "Get that away from me, mate." I said that's a scumbag drug. I ain't touching that. And the reason I knew it was a scumbag drug, because I'd seen heroin addicts, and I knew a few in my town centre. And these guys, were awful. They rotten teeth, skinny. They wear the same clothes every day. They use needles, and you just looked and you called them junkies, which is a phrase for a heroin addict. So when the guy passed it to me, I looked at him. I said, "Get that away from me, bro." Anyway, I just got to the party. It was pretty normal. 4 hours later, I'm smashed. I have drunk probably half a bottle of vodka, 10 pints of lager. I've took two ecstasy tablets. I've smoked loads of weed. I'm not myself. I'm not myself. And then I see the guy in the party, and he's dancing about, and there's about 10 of us left. And I got talking to him, and curiosity got the better of me.
Right.
And I asked him if he had any left, and I thought, what, I've been taking drugs since I was 13. I'm now 20, 21 years of age. I'll be all right. And just curiosity. And he said, "Yeah, coming in." We went into the bedroom, was in there about an hour, smoked some. My God, it blew me away.
Well, you liked it?
All the drugs I'd taken from the age of 13 to 20. That one night, that drug blew them all out the water.
Really?
I thought I was in heaven.
Right.
He turned the lights off. It was just me and him left in the party, about 3 of us. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. He turned the lights off, and it was in a flat looking over the River Thames, East London. And he put on a UB40 CD. Right. Red Wine, I'll never forget it. And I honestly lying there, right, watching these boats go up and down the River Thames at night with the light. We put the lights off, and I thought I was in heaven, but you know what? I didn't realise it was the gates to hell. Right. And that's where it all began. Right. 12 months later, I've lost 5 stone in weight. I'm no longer a gang member. My gang got nothing to do with me, which I'll come back to my gang in a minute. So now I'm running around with heroin addicts. I'd sold my Rolex. I'd lost a lot of weight. I wouldn't eat. Probably 1 meal every 3 or 4 days. I'm wearing the same clothes. I become a skinny junkie. I started knocking about with 2 guys in East London. One named Tommy, one named Mark. They've been heroin addicts for years. They're really well known. But what happened was, it got to the point where they used to inject. And I'll be knocking about him, I'll be smoking it.
Are you still smoking it at this point?
I'm still smoking at this point, yeah. But what happened was they were injecting every day, and I cannot stand needles. You know, as a kid, I had this phobia. I went to the dentist once, and he really hurt me, and I just had this phobia about needles, full stop. I didn't like them. And one night, Tommy went to me, do you want me to inject you with something? It's better than smoking it. Because now I'm able to smoke quite a lot of it, you see.
Right.
It's like your tolerance builds up, doesn't it?
Right.
And I remember, I said, go on in. And I was absolutely petrified, sweating. And I rolled my arm up, put a little tourniquet around my wrist. And he injected me in my arm, probably about £5 worth. And I loved it. And I learnt very, very fast. I had to do it myself. Now, you don't just put the needle in the arm and inject. You can do. It's called plunging it in your arm into your muscle. You can do it like that.
Right.
But you actually have to find a vein. Put the needle into the vein, draw it back. When blood comes back into the syringe, you're in the vein, you inject. But what happened was, you see, as you've probably seen from where you're sitting, all the veins in my hands and arms, where most addicts started to disappear 3-4 months later. So I've worked out we've got veins all over our body, from our big toe to our head. And I injected in every single part of my body over a few years. I started with my arms, legs, neck, then my penis, then my feet, then my toes, and I had to sit in really hot baths. I said the places I was staying had hot water. And because the heat brings the bath out, in the winter you'd really struggle to get veins. But then what happened was, after 2 years of injecting, now at this point I'm about 23, I got introduced to crack cocaine.
Right, okay.
Now most heroin addicts, I'm saying most, but the majority of heroin addicts get into crack. Some have it now and again because you need more money for crack. Whereas my habit was, say, £150 heroin a day, because you can have so much heroin, you're comatose. Yeah? Right. You have 3 or 4 grams, that's it, you're smashed. Crack's a completely different drug. When you take crack cocaine, it's more of a stimulant, a high. Right. So, you know, you're constantly like wired, awake. Now, my habit, once I started taking crack, has gone from £150 a day to £500 a day.
Oh, my God.
So we got members, for me to earn £500 a day, I'm no longer doing credit card fraud. I don't look like I could own anything, let alone a credit card. I couldn't even get the credit cards anymore. Now I'm a bulk shoplifter, prolific. Right. That meant I'd run in shops and normally have a cab outside or some other drug addict in a car. I'd run in shops and grab as much stuff as possible, normally clothing, and I'd run out of it, chuck it in the back of the car and we drive off. I have to nick every single day of the week £2,000 worth of goods, right? And I don't want to run around all day trying to find that money, because the more theft I commit, or the more crime I commit, the more risk I take of getting arrested and being locked up. I don't want to be locked up because I'll get remanded in custody. I've got nowhere to live. So I have to do it in one hit. So I have to walk into certain department stores, well-known department stores all over London, and I just grab, say, I see 10 leather jackets and £200 a jacket. I know, you know, my maths ain't great, but I know that comes to £2,000. I know for a fact the travellers will buy it off me for £500. Right. Yeah, they buy anything off me. Right. I take it to the Travellers' Yard, they give me the £500, bang, that's my money. Then tomorrow, I wake up in the morning and I have to do exactly the same thing again. But then what's happening is, when you inject crack's washed up with a thing called either ammonia or bicarbonated soda. But I worked out that if it was washed up with bicarbonated soda, when I was to inject it, it's like my veins really thrombosed, because you inject them together, heroin and crack, it's called speedballing. Oh, okay. But it makes your veins go hard. And I was using syringe needles, but what happened was, you meant to use them once to chuck them away into a sharps box, but some days, you know, I'd use the same needle 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, but then they get loose, so they're meant for one use. And I've still got a needle snapped off in my arm. It snapped off in my arm. It's still there? Yeah, it's still there. You see the scar there? Right. Where they operated. I went, it snapped off. It didn't hurt me. Couldn't even feel it. It's about 1.5 inches long. I tried to squeeze it out. And I wasn't bothered about it going in my arm. I was bothered about it's my last needle. And I had to rush off and try and find more needles. But what happened was, eventually I went to the hospital about 3 days later, got to A&E, told the staff, the nurse, and she looked at me like I was a lunatic. Anyway, then they took me to give me an x-ray. The doctor come back with the x-ray result. He see the needle, and he looked at me and went, "You're mad." He said, "Why don't you come to hospital straight away?" He said, "Because you've left it for 3 days, it's worked its way so deep." He said, "I will operate tonight." He said, "I'll put you asleep, I'll operate." He said, "But if I find it, we'll be lucky." Anyway, they put me asleep. When I woke up, he said, "I've left it in your arm." And he looked at me, and I was 23. He went, "If you don't stop using, you will die. You will die soon. You cannot carry on." He said, "I said, look, doctor, I can't stop. I cannot stop. Forget about telling me to stop. I'm obsessed with this." Have you actually tried to stop at this point? No, I don't want to stop. No, I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm up to my neck in this stuff. Yeah. And there were days when I said, "Oh, I want to stop," but no, you know, it was only a comment. The action was never there. Anyway, it got to the point. I found out in our body we have a vein called femoral. It's in our groin. It's a big vein, runs right through our body. The best way to access it is through the groin, either side. Right. Yeah. And just the top of your navel. Yeah. but it's very deep inside the body, and you have to be careful because the femoral, this is a tube, and it run through it is an artery and a vein. Well, you cannot inject into an artery.
Right.
Artery is very pink blood, so you have to be careful. Now I've got to use a needle now. There's 2 inches long, 3 inches long, yeah, as long as my index finger, and that's got to go right way down from my groin. You can't see the vein, but you know when you pull the plunger back, there's certain colour blood. If it's very pink blood that comes back into the barrel, you cannot inject. If you inject into an artery, you can have a heart attack.
Right.
So I had to make sure the right colour blood will come back into the barrel. It has to be really dark blood, venous blood.
Right.
So anyway, you inject yourself, you pull the needle out. As you pull the needle out, the needle's actually gone through the artery to get into the venous vein. So you've got a hole in the artery, so the blood will squirt out your groin.
Right.
But when you're injecting in the same hole, in the same groin, 7 days a week, 50 times a day,
wow,
that hole gets bigger and bigger. But what you got to remember is I used to use the same needle up to 50 times a day. Some days all I was 1 syringe. You meant to use them once, chuck them into a sharps box, use a new needle. And you meant to, two reasons you meant to change the needle. One for risk of infection, the second one I get blunt. Some days if I've got one needle, I use the needle so many times it used to get barbed. I had to sharpen it in a matchbox. So I'm putting it in my groin and ripping it back out. It rip out membrane and tissue out my groin. Then I'd have to put take my socks off, because I never had any towels in the crack dens I was visiting, and that's where I lived my life. And you'd have to put it to stop the blood. At this point, I'm losing a horrendous amount of weight. I'm running around, I'm robbing from shops every day, I've got nowhere to live, I'm not brushing my teeth. Now people started to suffer. I stopped my mum. This is what I did to my family. My mum had heard through the grapevine. I'd seen friends and some people, old people, people from past, and I ain't seen them for 4 years. I ain't seen my mum for 4 years at this point. And I think she'd found out I'd become a heroin addict, And one day I was walking down the street, and she come walking past me. I was near a town centre. I went, I'll travel over London, but I was in Essex, Romford, where she lived. And she walked straight past me in the street. She looked at me and she ignored me. And she didn't ignore me on purpose. She didn't recognise me.
Right.
I'd lost 8 stone in 5 years.
Wow.
I'm now 25. I'd lost 8 stone.
Right.
I used to be 16 stone. I was a healthy young boy, before I started all this. Anyway, about a year after that, I ended up stealing from my mum. Broke into her house when she was out one night at the bingo.
Right.
Stole her stuff.
That's a pretty low point, isn't it? Really.
That's I love my mum. This drug made me do things that you didn't think a human could possibly do. It's addiction. It's the most powerfulest thing I've ever come across. Anyway, now I'm running around and I ended up, my life was in crack dens all over London. I say crack dens, where people sell heroin, take heroin, and you go up there and you meet all these people, and now I'm sharing needles. Right. I remember because we have sharps boxes, but sometimes I turn up at a crack den, it's 8, 9 o'clock at night, I've managed to just get my stuff, because I had to, remember, the more crime I commit, the more further afield I have to travel. Yeah. Because I'm well known. Yeah. So I'm having to get cabs out now. I've got a cab bill now of £100 a day to take me about, or getting people, other addicts to run me about. So I'm turning up at these crack dens quite late at night, and you buy your stuff off the dealer in the same block, and then you run up to the crack den, and what crack dens are, they're just full of addicts all day in and out, and it's a place where the public can't judge us, because normally I run off to a public toilet and use, but when I go to the crack den, I can go up there, and there've been people now that didn't let me in my life, but everyone would be injecting their groin, smoking, whatever, it didn't matter. Right. And some nights I turn up, and it's late, I buy my drugs. First thing I do when I buy that drug, I inject it. I normally buy £200 of heroin, £200 of crack, or 250 heroin, 250 crack. That will last me to early hours of the morning, and tomorrow I'll do the same thing. But the point I'm getting at, I turn up at these crack dens, it's 8 o'clock at night, I ain't got no needle on me. The chemist is shut, because you get your needles from the needle exchange chemist. But in the crack den, there's a sharps box where needles full of dirty syringes like you get in hospitals and that. And I'd get a knife, cut the sharps box open, tip all the needles out onto the floor, hundreds of them, all with blood still in them, and I'd find the one with the least amount of blood in it, wash it out and use it. Now I've not done it once or twice or 3 times, I've done that probably 400 times. My God. That's how desperate that's how desperate I was. Now there's violence. You get in debt with these drug dealers, and they become violent if you don't pay them, and I've got all of them, I've been stabbed 7 times, 3 times in one night. I had a guy have some money for some crack in Ilford, Essex, and I knew him, Scottish guy. I used to knock about him, and he bumped into me in the bottom of the stairwell, 2 of them, him and a Scouser, and he tried to stab me in my face with a proper big butcher's knife.
God.
I tried to grab the knife automatically. First thing you do is put your hands up. It happened really quickly, instantly. As you can see, the scars in my hand here. He stabbed me clean from right in there. He severed my left middle finger.
Yeah, I can see, yeah.
Stabbed in the throat, in the arm. I nearly bled to death. And he bled to death. I run. You know, I'm not stupid. I'm not that brave. And I run for my life. A guy chased me. I got away. Next thing I know, I've lost so much blood. I woke up in hospital. I don't remember nothing about it. Apparently, some guy picked me up, chucked in the back of his car. He seen me in the street, you know, me bleeding to death. Woke up in hospital. The doctor came into my bedside. He said, "You're really lucky." He said, "You know, you could have died." And I was plugged into a machine. What the machine was, it wasn't like a life support machine. I was breathing by myself, but it was next to. I was on a high dependency ward, so people next to me in life support machines. So I knew it was serious because he'd slipped in my throat. It grazed the jugular vein.
Wow.
So it's very tender. And the surgeon came in and said, "Look, we need to monitor that for at least 3 days." Anyway, next morning when they weren't looking, I unplugged myself from the machine, pulled his tube out my neck and left because I wanted to use it. And I thought, well, I could have died. But it didn't cross my mind, and I'm back out using. And it got to the point where now I'm having a really, really bad relationship with the police. I mean, really, really bad. See, the police are after me all the time. I'm committing so much crime now, and there's warrants out for me all the time. But what happens is, you see, I've been in prison 15 times. Every time I got arrested, I just get remanded in custody. Because one, I'm a risk, then I'm going to commit crime straight away. And the second thing is, I've got nowhere to live. So by law, if you get arrested and you're no fixed address, and you haven't got an address to be bailed to, they have to remand you in custody.
Right.
I do not want to go to prison because if I go to prison, I cannot use. And if I cannot use, I'm withdrawing from heroin, and I'm a crack addict also. I'm obsessed with this drug.
Right.
One time I got arrested in my hometown. I come out of Debenhams with a load of stuff, and the police had seen me go in here, security, they arrested me, took me to the police station. Now normally they take me to court straight away, and there's a courthouse right next to the police station, but it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the court was shut. So they're going to wait till the next morning to take me to court. I'm in the cell now, withdrawing. A doctor does come down and give you some medication to try and ease the withdrawals, but my habit's horrendous. They could, you know, they'd have to give me pure heroin.
Right.
So I'm in the cell, I'm withdrawing from heroin. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I thought, how am I going to get out of this cell and use? And I had a plan. And not many people escape from a police station, but I said, I thought to myself, watch this. Let's see. This is how mad I was. Insanity. I pressed the buzzer in the cell. So the custody sergeant come down in 5 minutes. He looked for the hatch. I was lying on the bed in the cell. He went, "What do you want?" I said, "Gov, I said, any chance I can have a shower and a shave before I go to court in the morning?" Because I was always unshaven and smelly. He went, "I'll be back in a minute." And about an hour and a half later, or whatever it was, he come back. He went, "Come and open the door." He said, "Follow me." Followed him round to the shower bit in the police station. He went out. He gave me a bar of soap, a towel, and a razor. He said, "Hurry up. 5 minutes, I'll put you back in the cell." All night. He walked off. I didn't shower. I stripped down to my pants. I broke open the razor blade. I took the blade out, walked up to his desk, and I slashed. You can see the scars on my wrist, both sides.
Right.
57 stitches.
Right.
From arteries.
Right.
Now, I didn't want to die.
No.
I didn't want to die. I didn't even feel it. But I knew by doing that, they panicked. Because I'm the responsibility. If I do die, they're in trouble. But I didn't want to die. Even though I could have. But that was my plan, you see, because they rushed me in the back of a police car with towels around my wrist. I was bleeding badly. To the hospital, blue lighted me. They took me to the hospital because I cut through tendons and that. And arteries, had to stay all back up. That means I had to be operated on. All the police left. They ended up bailing me. The inspector come up, bailed me. I went up to theatre. They sewed me all up. That night, I was back out using.
Unbelievable.
That was my. You understand that with the insanity of addiction, mutilating my body to get out of a police cell to go and use, and it worked because that night I was out using. I wasn't bothered about the 57 stitches hanging out my wrist. I wasn't bothered about that. And now I'm running around my legs. Right, I've got infections, as you still see. Yeah. What happened was I started picking scabs at the bottom of my leg, and the holes got bigger. Then I got blood clots. Now what happens is when you get blood clot, your leg swells up. Anything to heal in the body, as far as I know, needs a good blood flow. Well, when I've got this blood clot in my left leg, and I started picking these scabs at the bottom of my leg, they went from the size of my little fingernail to eventually, as you can probably see and seen, the whole bottom of my left leg, from my knee down to my ankle, was flesh.
There's actually images of this on your website, isn't there?
There is, yeah. There's loads of images. So now I'm in so much pain. I can see bone, I can see muscle.
Wow.
I'm dressing it. See, I'm not going to the hospital or a doctor's surgery to get this dressed every day. I'm actually dressing it through nappies. I'm having to wrap nappies and like tape, like sellotape around my legs every day to soak up the fluid, and it stinks.
Yeah.
And when I wake up in the morning, it absolutely reeks of dead flesh, and I'm having to rip this nappy off. Big chunks of skin are coming off.
There's no alarm bells at this point.
No, I'm full on. I don't even want to. I don't want to stop. I can't stop.
Right.
It's not a fact of even debating it. I'm
just in the grip of addiction, and you just can't get out.
I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed.
24/7.
Nothing else matters. And it got to the point where I couldn't walk. And we've got members. I need to be able to run out of shops, out of shops with armfuls of stuff. If I can't walk, how do I get my £400-500 a day? There's no day off for me. This is 7 days a week. So when we was a gang, when we was a fully fledged gang, we had a gun, a revolver. And you know what? I buried it, right, years and years ago behind a fish and chip shop, not far from where my mum lived. And I thought, one of it's still there. And I went round, it was still there, wrapped in 6 bin bags.
Wow.
A revolver. And I buried it, unwrapped it, cleaned it up. It wasn't even that dirty. It just still looked, as what it was. And I started using it. I never robbed banks. I never robbed building societies. I never robbed the public. I robbed the drug dealers.
Wow.
Because I knew if I robbed a bank or building site, I'd get 10 years, and I didn't want to start running in banks. You know what I mean? I wasn't even in a fit state to, walk anywhere. So now I'm hobbling about. Now all these dealers I've been giving my thousands of pounds a week to, instead of giving them cash, I'm jumping in the back of their car and I'm sticking a revolver on the side of their head and I'm taking their stuff. Now it takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of courage. I was only like skinny, I was only like 8-9 stone. And it takes a lot of courage to jump in the back of a drug dealer's car. 9 times out of 10 there was 2 of them, and majority of the time they were great big like guys from Jamaica or the West Indies, and they weren't happy.
No, funny that. No,
they weren't happy. But I know for a fact if you was a drug dealer, which you're not, and someone jumped in the back of your car and they stuck a revolver in the side of your head.
Oh, you're going to give it over, aren't you? You're going to hand it over. I mean,
but now,
no arguments.
But the thing was, right, as well, I say it takes a lot of courage. I don't say it's of ego. It takes a lot of courage to jump in the back of a car. I was desperate. And the funny thing was, the gun didn't have any bullets. So it takes more courage, I think, to jump in the back of a car and rob someone with no bullets in it. That's what it does, because if they do turn around and start want to fight, what am I meant to do? Go bang or something? It's like no, but now word spread all over East London.
Well, you're holding up drug dealers. I'm
on drug dealers, but see, what you remember is my environment is drug addicts, drug dealers.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So now I'm turning up at crack dens, and addicts are just going. No one can be near me because I'm a liability. Yeah. Because these drug dealers now are after me. They're going to shoot me. All the stories going around, they're going to get me, take me to a derelict building, middle of nowhere, and literally nail me naked to the floor and leave me there.
Oh my God.
So what I'm trying to say is I'm turning up at crack dens now. Addicts wouldn't let me up their place to use because I'm a liability. If they go like, I want Paul Hannaford up there, the drug dealers come looking, these people don't want to be associated with me.
No, of course not.
So now I become really lonely. Extremely lonely. But one night I probably kind of stuck. I robbed 2 Asian guys in Ilford, Essex. They didn't know me that well. So I got their number through someone else. So I phoned them up. I said, come and they weren't aware that I was robbing dealers. And they pulled up. As they pulled up, I've stuck the gun there. I took their stuff. It was simple. But normally when a drug dealer pulls up, he has a big bag in his lap. Well, they have it in their mouth. But normally they have it in their lap. And in it, it'd be loads of deals. 10, 20, £50 deals, wraps of heroin and crack. Yeah. So you say, what do you want? You say 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4. That means like 3 of heroin, 3 of crack, or 10 of. You know what I mean? So what I've done is I've just grabbed the bag, put it in my pocket, jumped out, robbed them. Simple. Normally I'll rush off to a public toilet, but I've got about 2 grams worth of drugs in my pocket. But what it was, the heroin and crack, especially the heroin was in one block. It wasn't cut into little deals. So I managed to go up to this place where this guy was using his crack den. I've rushed up there and I've said to this guy, give me a bit of gear in a minute. Yeah. And it's his place. He didn't know me that well. I've just gone up these, and because I'm going to treat him, he's going to let me stay there. But as I've scraped a bit off, I've looked at it, was like a different colour. I put it in the syringe, injected it, bang, gone. Pure, but I didn't know.
Oh, so it's not cut. It
wasn't cut.
Right. Okay.
They must have just bought it themselves, and that's why it was in one block.
Right.
I don't remember overdosing. I've overdosed twice. You don't never remember, but I do remember. A few hours later, waking up in a hospital in A&E bit. All doctors around me, and the doctor come up and he went, "You was dead nearly." He said, the guy who's in the house, the crack house, the guy's the other addict, phoned an ambulance for me. Lucky enough, because normally I'd rush off to a public toilet. And if I'd have gone there, I wouldn't be here today. I'd have died in that toilet. So I used to spend hours in public toilets just locked in until they chucked me out.
Yeah.
Anyway, as I woke up in the hospital, doctors come round to me. He said, also, you're in trouble. I said, what do you mean? He said, I've given you a blood test. He said, you've got septicemia. And I looked, I said, what's that? He went, it's a blood poisoning. He said, you've got blood poisoning. He said, it can kill you. He said, you must stay in the hospital for at least 40 hours or 72 hours, he said, to let me treat you with antibiotics in an IV in a tube in your neck. He said, also, see your left leg. He said, it's so infected. He said, you got some pseudomonas infection. He said, we may have to amputate it.
Wow.
Yeah, because you might get gangrene. Because your immune system was so poor for injecting crack, you know. So he's told me this simple, two things. Stay in the hospital for at least 4 hours. Yeah. He'll get rid of the septicemia, which eventually will kill me. And he may save my leg. And he walked off the ward. The nurse turned her back. And I sneaked out and left. Because, see the bag of drugs I robbed? I knew that guy in 2 days' time would have sold it. So I rushed around there to get it. Don't forget, I've left it around there with overdose. I know he's got it. So I rushed around there, my bad leg now, and thought, well, I've got 2 days to live. On the way round there, I hobbling, and I remember the police station was one way, and he's cracked them with the other. And I knew the police station was a 10-minute walk, cracked them was probably a 15-minute walk or 5 minutes on a train. And something, I don't know what it was, and many people asked, but I don't know. I stopped, and this little bit of common sense come from somewhere, and it was like, come Paul, if you go to crack, then you're dead. Doctors told you this. If you go to a police station, there's a chance you'll live, because the police are after you, get arrested and you might get help. Something just made me go to the police. I couldn't, because you know, as you growing up as a little boy, being a gang, I hated the police, and I know I'm going to get arrested and I'm going to go to jail, but something just forced me there. Yeah. Something, and I walked into the police station and into the reception area, and the police knew me and looked, and it was like sergeant, and you know, and I just broke down. I cried like a baby. I just fell on the floor. I said, help me. I've had enough. They were quite shocked. They used to think I was this big tough guy, gang leader who mutilated his body and done all this other stuff. Yeah, I wasn't. No, I was just a little boy. Yeah, that lost my way. Yeah. Anyway, for 23 years or whatever. 23 years. Yeah. They arrested me. They took me straight back to the hospital. I told them the situation. They watched me for 2 days. The doctor gave me antibiotics. They tried to get my leg as clean as possible. Still really bad, the leg, but they got rid of the septicemia, which they said was life-threatening. Then they took me to court on the 3rd day. Got in front of the judge. No pre-sentence reports, nothing. Same judge I'd seen many, many times. He went, right, not you again. 6 months in prison for 3 or 4 or 5 shopliftings. They put them all together. Anyway, first thing you do when you go to any prison, I've been to many, you see the prison doctor before they put you in a wing. And he looked at me and looked at my leg. He went, you can't come in here. Not with that leg. And it was in Chelmsford prison, so I went to Broomfield Hospital. So he sent me to Broomfield Hospital, the prison guard, the prison doctor with 3 prison guards. And I got to the hospital. The consultant come down, looked at me. He went, "You've got to come in. We have to admit you. You may lose that leg." Anyway, so now I'm a prisoner. So what they've got to do is now, I've got a 6-month sentence. I spent all of it in the hospital. So you spend half of 6 months, 12 weeks. I'm handcuffed on this great big long chain to the prison guard or the bed for 12 weeks. What they're doing is every 24 hours, they do 3 shifts. So every 8 hours, you get 2 new guards come. But they have to be ferried from the prison to the hospital, which is quite a way. Right. Then the cab has to take the other 2 prisoners back home. Then so you've got to remember, it's costing a prison a fortune. Yeah. Just in cab fares alone. Then the guards are getting, like, you know, their double pay. But over that 12 weeks, I remember the first 3 days of me being here, the surgeon came around, looked at my leg, he went, before I cut your leg off, if you're going to try one more thing, save it. I said, because your immune system's so poor. He said, the antibiotics we're giving you ain't really working that well. He said, I'm going to get loads of maggots. And as you see the picture on the website,
I have. It's quite a picture, I have to say, Paul.
Well, do you know what? That picture is nothing. That picture is a tiny little hole. All in all, yeah. In that picture on my website, it's probably 50 maggots in there. Right? I had like 800 on my leg over a period of time. Okay. But what I do is see a maggot. A baby maggot is actually a fly, right? They're sterilised. They're born in a laboratory in some part of the country, Wales, I think. So what they do is I'll put them in tea bags, or I'll actually pour them on your leg. And then what a maggot does, a maggot can only eat a dead enzyme. So a baby maggot will eat dead tissue. So all the bad tissue from my knee down to my ankle, all around my whole leg, is dead, rotten flesh. So they put the maggots on, Anyway, they wrap it in a special bandage, so you can't see the maggots. But 24 hours later, the bandage starts to move. The maggots are growing.
Oh, okay.
Because when you actually get a baby maggot, when it actually goes from full size to when it's born, it's like probably increases in size by about 50. So you can imagine how tiny they are. You can't even see them. 40 hours later, the whole bandage is now moving constantly, 24 hours a day, because them maggots are fully feeding on my leg. Wow. 72 hours, they're escaping out the bandage. So many of them now, hundreds of them. So I'm waking up, I'm handcuffed to the bed. They just come crawling past me, so I flick them onto the floor. Anyway, on the 72-hour mark, they have to get rid of them because the next day, I think actually on the 4th day, a maggot will turn into a fly, pupae. Okay. So what they have to do, they have to time it right. Anyway, so you take the bandage off in the shower, wash all the maggots down in the shower, they take you straight down to the theatre, they do a skin graft. It's called a debridement. So they take skin off my good leg, my thigh. Right. Yeah, and they put it on my leg. And for a skin graft to take, the body needs to accept, I think, about 50-40% of it. But my body used to reject it. Right. So they have to try it again and again. So I had this treatment all over these 12 weeks. Eventually, there were still holes in my legs, but they managed to patch some of the skin up. And what happens is when it takes 30-40%, then it encourages growth. So then the whole leg will heal. Well, should do. Anyway, one day they come up, took the handcuffs off. The prison governor come up, unhandcuffed me, he said, "You're free." And I looked and I went, "What do you mean?" He said, "You served your time. You're no longer a prisoner." If I'd have been in prison, I'd have got out. Yeah, yeah. And he walked off, and I went, "I'm funny, Gov." I said, "Well, I ain't got nowhere to go." And he looked at me, he said, "Basically, son, I don't care. You're not a prisoner. You're not my responsibility." And they left. All prison governor and the 2 guards went. And I lied there, and I was like, wow, you know, I was 12 weeks clean from any drugs. I put on a bit of weight. I put on a lot of weight. I was eating every day.
I was going to say, you must have been withdrawing quite badly at this point.
No, they give me methadone.
Oh,
they give me methadone, I think, the first 10 days, but I was all right. You know, they took me off the methadone, and for the pain, they was giving me like Entonox, and they give me 2 epidurals as well. With this pump thing.
So you weren't actually withdrawing badly?
No, I wasn't. I've withdrawn hundreds of times. What I'm trying to say is, 10-day detox done, methadone out, and the doctor out of it. He said, "No, you don't need it." So, I was coming up like probably 10 weeks, over 10 weeks without anything in my system. Okay. I'd put on weight. You know what I mean? I was eating 3, 4, 5 meals a day. I just got this appetite back, which you do when you stop taking drugs. So I put on all this weight. I started to look healthy. My leg was still poor. The guards had left, and the nurse came round next morning. And she went, "Paul, we need the bed for another patient." And she goes, "You got to go tomorrow. You're well enough." And I said, "I ain't got nowhere to go." And she went, "Paul, we're really sorry. We're trying to send someone down to sort something out." And I lied there, and I got upset, and I thought, this is what my life's come to. What happened to that little boy? What happened to that little boy that was playing football, that wanted to be a fireman? Now look at me. Because come to visit me? Nobody. Really? 12 weeks in the hospital. People where I was there, no one. Why would my mum want to come visit me? As much as she probably loved me, she hated me at the same time. I put her through hell. It wasn't just the nicking her wedding ring and all the other stuff, and my brothers nicking all their stuff, and my other friends burgling their houses. It wasn't about that. It was about the emotional and mental pain I put them through. The worry. Anyway, cut long story short, I thought, where am I going to go now? I've got nowhere to live. My family don't like me. I've got no job, my health's poor. Where do I go? Back to the crack den? And this time I will not survive. And I didn't want to die, so I've been aware of a place called a rehab. One of my friends went to one years ago, and he was up in Somerset, Western-super-Mare. So I phoned him up, I got his number, and I said to the nurse, "Can I just have a couple of days to try and sort out a rehab?" And she went, "No, I ain't going." And she was good as gold, this nurse. I went, "All right," she's the sister on this ward. Anyway, so next couple of days I made loads of phone calls, and eventually I got in touch with this rehab in Somerset. I said, "Yeah, come down." And in the prison, I managed to get a travel warrant from the prison. I went up to this place in Western-super-Mare in Somerset, and I got to this rehab, and it was fantastic, and I got better. I stopped drinking, stopped taking drugs, started working a thing called the 12-step program. Anyway, I stayed in there for 12 weeks. My leg was still bad, and then eventually I got a job back in the rehab, and I stayed down there for a few years, and I got better. And then what it was, I started, I got a life back. Yeah. My mum sort of like, I was talking to her now and again on the phone, and friends, and because people just wouldn't have it that I would ever get clean and sober. Anyway, but what happened was I started doing a bit of drama stuff, extra work.
Oh, okay.
In Bristol.
Yeah. So
I started having little bits in Doctor Who and Casualty.
All right.
And then my mates would see him on the telly. It was like, "Oh, I've seen Paul on the telly." And that's that. And only like, sometimes I'd have a couple of lines, sometimes I wouldn't. But I thought, wow, look at, Then I started doing a bit of like stand-up comedy, and I started getting really good and getting invited to gigs. But a lot of work I was getting auditions were in London.
Right.
So I kept having to go to London for auditions, and you don't always get them. You know, it's a really old industry. You know, the acting game. You know, it's probably hundreds of actors that are fantastic and not in work. So I was a bit deluded, you know, because I had these little parts here and there. I got really lucky. And anyway, I thought I'd take a risk. I go to drama school. So 5 years ago, I come back down to London, and I sort of stayed near where I was brought up. I didn't really want to. I felt a bit vulnerable, to be honest. And I started going to drama school. Saved that little bit of money. Went to this drama school. But then, as I said, the acting industry is really difficult. There's lots of people out there who want to be actors, and you know, and as I said, a little bit deluded. So all of a sudden, I spent this bit of money. I put myself back in this environment. I'm out of work. I think, what do I do? And I thought I need to do something with my time. So I went to my local council, and I said to them, look, this is who I am. Gangs, drugs, everything. There's any chance I can just go around and share my experience with some kids in a youth club or a school? Anyway, I said, come back next week. So I turned up next week. And I said, come back next week. So I turned up next week. And it went on for about 3 months. And I eventually got to meet this guy named Cameron, and he was the top of the council. And he said, look, you know, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, May 2009, I said, can you come to a youth club in Essex, in Rainham, and speak to the kids? I said, yeah, I'd love to. So I turned up. It was a nice warm evening. And the kids walked in, they looked at me, gave me funny looks. You know, this is their youth club night. You know, it's not a school night, is it? I'm taking up their time here.
Yeah, that's right.
So I sat there, I was petrified. My heart was beating in my chest. I sat there, and about 15 of them sat down, aged between 10 and probably 16. And I shared my story. And the kids absolutely loved it. But what I didn't realise, they went back to their school next couple of days, different schools.
Of course,
and told their teachers.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now, I'm getting a phone call from the council saying, oh, this school's phoned up after your talk. Can you come and do like an assembly? And I thought, what? You know, I've gone from speaking to 10 kids to speaking to a couple of hundred in an assembly. So I turned up at this school, done a talk. Then the school invited me back. So all of a sudden, I started getting invites to lots of schools in my borough, Havering, Essex. You know, it's Havering, East London, but it's a big borough. So within a year, I'd spoken to like probably, I don't know, 5,000, 6,000 kids.
Okay.
Then primary schools were inviting me, and I was thinking, wow, you know, these are like babies, 10 years of age. In primary, you're talking about this stuff, and I was showing all the pictures of my legs, and because they've still got holes in, as you know, and then what I did was someone said build a website.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, you know, can I get a career out of this or a living? I don't know. You know what I mean? I was doing lots of unpaid work, which I still do today. So I built a website. Anyway, so when we started to get like case studies or testimonies.
Okay. So
kids are going testimonies, and you see them all plotting up. Then I stuff on Facebook. Then I got a Twitter account, and then it just like, and then all of a sudden the fire brigade, London Fire Brigade, after the riots, they heard about me. And they do a thing called a life course, which is fantastic, helping kids. They get them into a fire station, and they teach them all life skills for a whole week. And then they do a pass-out parade. Absolutely brilliant.
That's pretty good, yeah.
And they come watch me about 3 years ago, and they said, "Can you come do some talks for us?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And they said, "We ain't got no money, but like we'll pay your expenses." And I said, "I ain't bothered about that. Cool. You know, I do lots of unpaid work." Anyway, I turned up, done 2 talks, 3, 4. I said, "Can you come meet us? We want to give you full-time paid work. You know, 50 talks a year." I was with them yesterday, funny enough, and that was incredible. So I said, "Listen, can I have your logo for my website?"
Yep.
London Fire Brigade. Yeah, so I'll work for you. And pictures. They went, "Yeah, no problem." So all of a sudden now I've got this website, and I had one logo, London Fire Brigade, my local council, 2 logos, and then I had 1 photo or 2 photos of me doing talks with the kids and a couple of testimonies.
Okay.
And then it's like a portfolio.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden now I'm getting really busy.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting bookings in Scotland, Wales. So now obviously it went from like, it started to switch itself. Instead of being 100% voluntary, now this is going like 20% paid, 8% voluntary, and it's building and building. And then I started emailing football clubs, because I know football clubs from top of the Premier League to the bottom of Division 2 have to do stuff in the community with kids.
That's right.
So I started emailing these football clubs, phoning them, they'll blank me, completely blank me for about a year. And all of a sudden I got lucky. A couple of years ago, QPR Football Club in West London phoned me. They said, "Can you come down and talk to us? You sent a load of emails. What are you all about?" So I turned up, gave them my website details, spoke to them in the afternoon. They said, "Right, come back next week to the stadium, Loftus Road. We let you do 1 talk. If we like you, we give you more work. If not, we pay you for the 1 job. That'd be it." I went, sweet. So I turned up a week later with the Prince's Trust, done a talk, police were there and everything.
You're talking to kids here
kids,
at QPR?
QPR.
Okay.
They brought kids in, Prince's Trust. It's a good organisation, works with kids. And they said, "If we like you, we give you more work. If not, we pay you for 1 job."
Okay.
I thought, lovely. Okay. But I just turned up, done my stuff, left. By the time I got from White City Station, Tube, which is in West London, back to Romford where I live, I'd had an email from the football club. They absolutely loved you. Can you do 10 more talks for us? So I thought, wow, this is incredible. I'm working with London Fire Brigade. I'm working with like a Premier League football club. I used to be homeless in the gutter.
Yeah.
And it started to look good. And all of a sudden, I got an email from Reading, the Dacia Stadium. Can you come work for us? Then I got an email from Fulham. Then I got an email from Arsenal. Then West Ham, Tottenham.
And they all want you to go in and talk to kids, basically.
Then I got an email from last year. I got an email from Old Trafford.
Oh wow,
Man United.
Okay. Can
you come and talk to our kids? Then I think I've worked now with 33 or 40 professional football clubs.
Right.
And what they do is they have a thing called a Kicks project. It's fantastic, absolutely brilliant. It's run by the Premier League. They get the kids turn up at these venues, and the football club have to organise coaches and that, and they get kids like off the street, run down areas or whatever, and just give them somewhere to go and kick a ball about in a safe environment. And obviously, and then they get me in to talk to them about drugs, gangs, knife crime, as you'll see from my website, all the comments and the pictures, and it just escalated really. And I was at St George's Park about a month ago doing the stuff with West Midlands, like the England training camp. I got invited there. And it's just like it's just really flipped itself around. But I'm frustrated because, as I said, 80% of my work now is schools. I speak to 50,000 children a year, some as young as 7. I go to primary school, speak to year 3. These kids are babies. People say that's too young. Well, it's not, because kids of that age are actually taking knives into school.
Really?
I'm not joking.
Wow.
A kid of 8 took a knife into school. I haven't named the school. The school expelled him. All the other kids see it in the playground, and they got me in. And if you look on my website, you look at some of the pictures of how young the kids are. They're 7 and 8, and I'm educating them, and they're bright as buttons, and they're not stupid. I do tailor it for the younger ones. As you know, I've still got holes in my leg. I dress them every day.
I've seen them, mate. Yes, I've seen them.
I have to dress them every day. I've still got 12, I think, a dozen blood clots trapped in my groin. I have a regular blood test. I'm on warfarin, keep my blood thin. But
you managed to, you were talking earlier about sharing needles. You managed to avoid all sorts of other diseases like hepatitis.
The doctor looked one day. I've had loads of blood tests for HIV and AIDS, because and I've done about 10 tests, and the doctor says, really, you're extremely lucky.
Yeah.
He said, but you're even lucky. He said, you've kept all your own teeth. He said, you've got no hepatitis. He said, the chances you survive in all the stabbings, 2 overdoses, and spending, I think it was 1.3 million on drugs. He said,
what?
He said,
1.3 million.
Look, in my bag over there. See my bag. Yeah, because I've been at work. Right, I have to take my CRB with me.
Okay, yes,
criminal record for just to show the schools or wherever I'm working. Look, you got to remember, I nicked £2,000 worth of stuff a day. On my convictions on there, I went from 1992 to 1996 without getting arrested at court once.
Right,
and I'm still out. So you think the stuff I stole was incredible. The amount of stuff I stole was just to maintain this habit. And we've got to remember, I used drugs for 23 years.
Yeah, it's going to add up, isn't it? I suppose
I
didn't consider 1.3 million. I mean,
that's probably at a low end. But you know what? I'll put something back. I don't. As I said, it started off 100% voluntary. Now it's sort of probably 80% paid, 20% voluntary. I feel just as good walking out of a school and they give me just my bus fare back as I do walking out of a school and they give me a cheque for a couple of £100. It doesn't. I'm passionate about what I do. I do know for a fact many people that work with kids are not doing enough, and I strongly believe that anyone that works with kids, and they never will, or they haven't yet, got anyone to speak to them about the dangers of drugs, alcohol, knife crime, or gangs, they need to ask themselves one question: do they really care about them kids' futures? Because no one ever come to my school. I went to 3. I played for 2 football teams. No one ever come to my football team. It was all about my academics, maths, English, science, history. We teach you how to kick a ball in the back of a net. Drugs, alcohol, gangs, knife crime, no, we're not interested. In fact, run along and find out for yourself, and that we did, because the rest of my gang, all over.
They're all gone? They're all dead?
I can't name them.
Okay, no, obviously, no, but they're no longer with us.
4 dead.
Right.
1 killed himself, 3 died from heroin after me. 4 got severe mental health, severe. And 1 still in prison for stabbing another guy to death 10 years ago.
My God. So you were the lucky one. You were the lucky one out of those 10, and you're now giving back to the community. It's just beginning. I've been doing this 5 years. These talks. I've now. You remember May 2009? I spoke to 10 kids. I've now spoken to 250,000. Wow.
I don't plug them numbers out here.
No.
And so go on my website. www.paulhannaford.com. Look at my Twitter. Look at the comments I get. Every girl I go, I take pictures. You know, I don't put pictures all on my website. You know, I take thousands of photos of my work. It's like a case study. It's like a portfolio. Tomorrow to a private school in Havant up near Portsmouth. How wonderful! You know, speaking to these kids. All children matter, and there's more drugs on our street today than ever. I know the street inside out, back to front. I know what goes on. I know the street better than any policeman, politician, or teacher. In fact, and knife crime all-time high, as we know, not far from here.
Yeah, there's an incident recently. Yeah,
someone got stabbed to death.
There's a fatal stabbing.
What we need to do is then we just look at that situation and ask, was it drug, alcohol, gang related? Was the boy that carried that knife, did he ever have a workshop around knife crime? Because I'd take many knives off kids. They phone me, they text me, they tweet me, they direct message me saying, you know what, after your talk I'm never carrying a knife. You know, look at the comments I get on my website. You know, the tweets I get from kids. I go and wake them up. This is brutal. This is really hard hitting. I've upset many kids. Many have passed out. It's really hard when I see all the images of my legs and the stabbings and everything else. But you know what? And I'll say this: I've never had a complaint.
Right.
I've upset many kids. I've never had one parent or school or a teacher email me, call me, and say, you know what, you shouldn't be doing that. All I get is parents thanking me, because what parent doesn't want their kids to come home from school and say, do you know what, Mum, we had a talk today and it's frightened the life out of me, and I'll never ever join a gang, I'll never carry a knife, I'll never touch drugs. I'm now fully aware of alcohol abuse. What parent don't want that?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's just education, isn't it? Really, it's just education.
There's no committee. There's no. You know, schools phone me. The teacher that phones me is the head of PSHE, which is Personal Social Economic Health, which is most schools have. A lot of schools don't utilise it. You know, if they did, this country would be a better place. But a lot of schools don't really care. And it takes one teacher to collapse the timetable, get me in, book me. I sit in the hall. Yeah, I have a big screen behind me with all the images, and I get a year group in at a time, say from year 7 to 11, but different ages through the day. I speak to up to 1,500 kids a day. I sit on that spot for 5 hours and I talk for 5 hours. How wonderful.
Absolutely.
Anyone that works with kids, and they get someone in to speak to them about the dangers of our streets, which is drugs, alcohol, knife crime and gangs, because let me tell you something, I work in prisons, and all the prisons I speak to, 80% of them are in for drug-related crime. 70% of them are in for alcohol-related violence, and yet there's some 5% of schools in the United Kingdom give drug or alcohol education. No wonder we've got a problem.
No, absolutely.
I know I didn't go to school, my maths ain't great, but they don't take a lot of working out. And until someone wakes up somewhere, because I know if I was a headmaster of a school, I'd put personal well-being over academic development all day long. They're both important. But kids' personal well-being and cannabis and ketamine are destroying many young people's futures. I
remember you telling me something when I spoke to you before. You were saying that it was often the most unlikely pupils that are carrying knives.
I'll give you an example. Yeah, I was, I won't name the school, but I was in a school a little while ago in Essex, and I was there all day. And you talk to the whole assembly, and then you have a break, and the kids come up and talk to you. And this one boy come up and he looked like Harry Potter, right? Glasses. Immaculate, he had all his badges, his prefab badges and all that, like butter went on his mouth. And he come and sat at me, and he went, "Can I have a word with you?" I said, "Yeah, of course you can." He went, "I'll carry a knife." And I said, "Okay." I said, "Why?" He went, "Well, I don't know really." He said, "Protection." I said, "Protection from what?" And he said, "Well, I don't really know." I said, "You scared?" He went, "No." He said, "But I thought if I carry a knife, it would protect me." And I looked at him, I said, "Well, look, if someone's going to come up in the street and put a knife in you, you're unlucky. You're wrong place, wrong time. We know it happens, but it's rare. For some, I said, there's a chance of someone coming up and stabbing you in the street. You've got more chance of being run over and killed by a bus." I said, "But if you join a gang or get involved with drug dealers," I said, "then your chances of being stabbed increase."
Exactly, you just increase your chances. Yeah.
Well, of course you do, because 80% of knife crime is gang, drug, or alcohol related. So these little boys walk around with a knife in his pocket for no reason. And there's a possibility one day, he may be full of alcohol, or he may be in a situation where he pulls out and kills someone. We know it happens. But anyway, that night I got home and he messaged me. He said, "I've put it back in a drawer. I no longer carry it." Oh,
see, so you saved someone there from potentially.
Well, I don't know, do I? But what I'm trying to say is it's just the most unlikely sometimes. But look at that little boy that stabbed that teacher in Leeds.
Oh yeah,
recently. Can I tell you something? I emailed that school. I got the emails to prove it. Yeah, because I emailed every school in the country. I've got a company to do it for me. So I've got the evidence. Corpus Christi, I emailed them twice in the past 2 years to offer them knife crime workshops.
Right.
They didn't say no. They never said nothing.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that email might have got through to the wrong person, but I sent two. They're fully aware of me because I've been working in Leeds, a lot of schools. That boy stabbed that teacher to death. Was there, or wasn't there, an opportunity to go and speak to that boy? We don't know, but I'm saying, was it worth, for the sake of a lousy few £100 in an hour in an assembly, for that boy to put that knife down and that teacher still be alive today?
Absolutely.
We don't know.
Well, we don't know.
Ignorance.
There was another story you told me as well, actually, which was about, I think they were doing some stop and searching in Brick Lane, is that right?
Oh, yeah. To believe it or not now, I've turned my life around. I worked at the fire brigade, even the police. Believe it or not, I grew up and I become broad-minded, and the police now get me into lots of work, and it's fantastic because they get me into hard-hitting areas or schools, and I've got this better relationship with the police today. I even get invited back to the same police station where I cut my wrist for coffee and cake sometimes. It's quite ironic, really. I sit there and I'm like in the borough commanders up in the office. I feel a bit out of place, really, but I'm sitting there and you've got all these big wig policemen sitting there and we're talking, and I think they look at me like, frowning, thinking, has it really changed that much? And so I eat the coffee and cake and I go. But yeah, they were telling me a story. Brick Lane, East London, vibrant place. I
love it. I go there quite a lot, actually. I love Brick Lane.
Fantastic food. Many Indian restaurants down here. Brilliant. The police. They were just telling me a story of plainclothes officers, 3 of them, just doing a stop and search Friday, Saturday night. It's their job, isn't it? They stopped 3 young Asian men, early 20s. And one of them happened to have in his pocket a wrap of cocaine, probably worth about £40 a gram. It's an A-class drug, so he has to be arrested and charged. So he went to the police station, they charged him, gave him a court date. He turned up in court, I think he got a £300 fine. So you asked yourself, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal was he just qualified as a doctor, junior. 7 years medical school, bang, finished. He can no longer work as a doctor. He's got a drug conviction.
Yep.
And so this ain't my story is not just about addiction, gangs, knife crime, or me working in prisons. This is just about life, isn't it? It's about choice we make. I was in a school a little while ago, just for the holidays. I'd done a big assembly, like I do all the time anyway, and I said, any questions? And this boy's put his hand up. He's a little bit quite cocky, year 10, so he was about 15, 15. So he put his hand up in front of all the teachers, really brave. All the other kids were looking, thinking, wow, has he just said that? And he went, Paul, he said, I smoke a bit of weed now and again. He went, I'm not an addict. I said, I didn't say you would be. I said, not everyone who smokes weed becomes an addict. If that was true, this country would be full of addicts.
That's right. Yeah.
I said, can I ask you a question? I said, what's your name? And he told me his name. And I said, can I ask you a question? He went, yeah. And I said, what job do you want to do when you leave school? He said, I'm going to be a pilot. I said, what, commercial airline? He went, yeah, my dad's a pilot. I said, okay, cool. I said, it takes about 4 years to get a pilot licence at aviation school. So I said, okay, you leave school next year. So let's say, let's fall the clock 5 years. He went, yeah. I said, in 5 years' time, you've got a pilot licence. And in 5 years' time, you're still smoking that weed. I said, they will come around one day, most definitely in that job, and they will test you. And if you've got that cannabis in your system, they will sack you instantly on the spot. All your 5 years of hard work to get that pilot licence will go out the window for a bit of cannabis worth a couple of pounds. And he looked, and 4 days later, and I've got the email. He emailed me, so he stopped smoking it. Fire brigade, army, police, British transport, building sites. Want to smoke weed? And you take a risk for your future.
You said something about the legislation's changing. Is it 2015?
I don't know what's happening in 2015. I did read a newspaper. I don't read newspapers much, but last year I read a newspaper about the amount of people going into work under the influence of alcohol still, and them doing a fingerprint test, the employers. But listen, I think there's things like corporation law, like a building site. If someone gets killed in a building site and it's drug or alcohol related, then I think the people that own the building site can be charged with corporate manslaughter.
Right.
So what the company have to do that own the building site is do regular drug and alcohol tests.
I see.
Then I think public liability will cover them for insurance, and things like that. I'm not too clever on that.
Just urine test or something, is it?
Yeah, just urine test. Yeah, they can just pull you aside because who wants to be driving like a 40-ton crane when they're out there on alcohol or still under influence of weed or etc.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
it's just dangerous.
You look at alcohol deaths, right? It's not just people dying from alcohol. My dad was borderline alcoholic. I lost many friends for alcohol. But you talk about deaths through road traffic accidents. How many of them are alcohol related? You know, it's you know. So what I'm trying to do is, you know, my job is to go into an environment, whether they be young or old. You know, as I said, I can be in one school one day with primary school kids. The following day I'll be in a prison speaking to 6-year-old convicts, and you know, real teachable. But let's get these children at the age of 10 at least, before they go off into secondary school, because secondary schools are hostile. I don't care what secondary school in the country kids go to, they're safe environments, but there will be certain year groups in there a little bit older that will be involved with smoking cigarettes and probably cannabis, taking ketamine, drinking alcohol, possibly certain parts of London there will be gang members in schools that are carrying weapons. So what we need to do is, these little boys and girls that are going into this environment, we need to get them, educate them, wake them up, make them aware of these situations. Then they'll understand that they have a choice, which I had once. And I took that weed and I smoked it, but you know what? No one ever made me aware of consequence.
No.
And I'm still living it today.
But we've heard where that's taken you as well. It's taken you to a very dark place.
It took me to a dark place, and no, it's just, you know, I've you know, we've been on air an hour, and I've had to explain 23 years worth of stuff. There's lots more to it, but I just try and make out the point that was there once, an opportunity to come and get someone to sit in front of me when I'm a little boy, and I'll take on board what you say, and then when I get in that situation of down the alleyway, then I have a choice, and I understand consequence, and I can say no and walk away and keep myself safe.
Absolutely. Paul, I could talk to you for hours. I think we've run out of time.
No problem.
If schools are listening and they want to get in touch with you and book you, do they book you through your website? Or? They
can either call me on my website. The contact page is a booking form on there. I think I just had it all updated. My website is a number. It's simple. Just get me in, do an assembly, you know. And if them comments on my website, right, paulhannaford.com, if they don't convince you, all the case study, all the stuff I do, and then not a lot will. And it boils down to one thing, 4 letters. How much do you really care?
Absolutely, mate.
Well, thank you.
Paul, thank you for coming into WHR. You can follow Paul on Twitter, which is at Paul Hannaford, isn't it?
Paul Hannaford, yeah.
And www.paulhannaford.com. I'd strongly recommend you have a look at his website. I've looked at it. There's another interview on there that you've done.
There is. I've never listened to it, but yeah, I think it's probably the same sort of thing as this, I guess.
It's very, very good. There's some images on there of your legs with the maggots, which are pretty grim. And lots of very inspiring pictures of you with people in the community, fire brigades and stuff. So I really appreciate you coming into HR, Paul.
That's all right. You're welcome. Thank you for the invite. And as I said, you know, every child has a future.
Yep.
And it'd be a lot brighter if I didn't do what I did.
Absolutely, mate. Thank you for coming in, Paul.
You're welcome. Thank you for the invite.
Cheers.